Hey friends! So today I have officially decided to start working on my Automail leg for the Edward Elric cosplay. I am going hard for this cosplay, okay? And this time around I just want to show you guys how I actually make it, because I got a lot of questions about how I made it, and last time I kind of just updated the progress of it. So yeah, so first step, find yourself a reference photo of how you want your Automail to look, because there are several different versions of how it could look. This is the picture I went by for my arm, and I also really like the design of the leg too, so that is what I'm going to use. Welcome to my art desk. First thing you're going to need, a bunch of vanilla folders, okay? These are super cheap, you can find them almost anywhere, and so what these vanilla folders are for making your template. This was my template for my arm, all of this. As you can see, I cut them so they were perfect on each side, which is the real benefit of having vanilla folders. Essentially, this would wrap around my arm, and then I had this layer to go over it, and then I also had this layer to go over it. And I pretty much just kind of wrapped it around my arm and figured out what fit, and then I cut it according to that. You will have to recut a lot. It takes a lot of patience. Honestly, the template was the absolute hardest part for me personally, so I'm just gonna kind of like video lapse like me making my template for my leg to show you guys how I physically am going to do it. So let's do it! Alright, I got my shorts on so I can start messing around with my leg. Try and explain my thought process behind this, because it's really tricky when you're just like, I'm just gonna start making a template. I don't know what I'm doing. I kind of know what I'm doing now, because I made the arm, so this is going to be a little easier, and I'm going to explain it. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to try and section off the different pieces, right? So, you know, like I can say, oh, well, this looks like its own little thing, right? This is really hard to draw like this. I'm going to start with this piece. So I know I need one big round piece to go all the way around, and then I need one piece on the top. And then it looks like this piece is also this piece that kind of wraps around the calf. So only like 3 pieces. So yeah, not too bad. Let's get started. One thing about Automail is that it is incredibly messy, so I apologize for the giant mess I am about to create in my room. So as you can see, it's one hell of a struggle already. So I just kind of resorted, well, I'm just gonna wrap it around my leg with some tape and see from here where I need to draw it in my designs. Also from here, I can think about my movement, because I want to be able to move in this thing decently well, right? So, hello. From here, I'm just gonna like walk around my house pretty much and be like, okay, where does it feel like I'm like running into it? Or does it need to sit on my leg? I think it needs to sit up here a little more. And I'll just walk around and pretty much test it that way. And then you'll be able to know, okay, well, I don't like how that feels. I'm just gonna continue to draw on where I want it to be cut. And according to the reference photo, yeah. This is essentially the shape I've been able to get so far. This will be the front. As you can see, I made room for the back of my leg, like when I bend my leg, so I won't run into it. Down here, I'm gonna clean these up a little bit. These will kind of go onto my ankles to connect to my feet. However, I don't know how I'm even gonna do my feet. Make sure you label these so you remember what piece is what and how you're going to be assembling it in the future. So I'm just gonna label this base leg 1. That's all I'm gonna label it. Next step would be like, okay, well, what piece is gonna go on next according to this? So I would think I want a nice smooth back like this, and it's under this and this. So that's the next piece I'm gonna work on. This next piece, I'm not gonna use this. I'm gonna rather use this nice smooth area to get that nice, and yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I'm just winging it. That's kind of what you have to do. You just have to wing it. Okay, so I got that back piece on, right? As you can see, there's a bit of a gap here, but I'm not gonna worry about it because my photo that I'm going by, well, I'm gonna have this to kind of cover the top part of it. So I'm not gonna worry about what it looks like underneath. What I'm thinking about now is, you know, how I'm going to be able to put this on and take it off. I think I'm gonna have to, see, you just have to make up this shit on the spot. I'm gonna have to like cut a designated area on the side, and then eventually attach Velcro so I can wrap it, fold it over, because I can't slip it on my foot because it's too tight. It's too tight right here, so. Oh god. We're gonna figure it out! Next part. So now I'm gonna look, okay, what do I think is gonna go on next? And I think this piece will go under this piece, right? So next, that's what I'm gonna work on, and it looks like it, yeah, it kind of like does like this little curve down behind this. As I'm making this piece, one thing that you can see I'm doing is I am marking where it's going to actually sit on the leg, just so I can remember where to place it, especially when I will be assembling it later on. Okay, so I just got done with this piece, and this one was fairly, like, one of the easier ones I put together, because all I really did was eye the shape of it, and then just draw it and cut it out, and yeah, and the leg piece is almost done, the main piece. I think one part that I'm coming across that I didn't have to deal with on my arm was the symmetry is kind of off because of the way it fits my feet. You can see, you know, like it like wraps around my ankle in 2 different spots, so that's a little weird. Not really sure how that's gonna look. It'll be fine. But yeah, it's practically done. I just need to figure out where I'm going to be able to open it up and assemble it. Kind of see it here. So I got some tweaking to do. I need to create some more space back here. I had to assemble it in kind of a weird way because I didn't want like any like noticeable creases, because I did that with my arm and I didn't really like it. So the way I take it off is there's tape right here. And then I'll open that up, and then I'll Velcro it eventually, right? And then I'll open up right here. And yeah, that's the start of it. All right, day 2 of making the Automail leg. I got myself a new little setup here. I decided to utilize my mom's workshop because it's looks better, looks nicer, more room, more space, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. So last we left off, I finished the template for the main leg piece. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put it back on, and I'm just gonna make sure it all looks good. I'm gonna fine tune some pieces, maybe recut some pieces just to make it fit a little better. I'm also going to put on like a thigh high so I make sure it fits with like that on underneath it. One tool that you can see I'm using here are called brads, and I'm just using them to hold the shape together. I feel like it just kind of makes the process a little easier. So you can use those too if you want. If not, tape works great as well. I had to recut a couple pieces as you saw, so that was kind of tedious. And yeah, I'm gonna continue to try it on as I make the other pieces to make sure it all fits, and I'll have to tweak it here and there. But the next piece I'm going to be working on is the kneecap. Yeah. I thought about just buying one of those like kneecap things for like if you're like rollerblading or something, but I'm just gonna make it, and I'm gonna like attach elastic to the back of it so it'll like hold onto my knee. And I think I might make this piece with Warbla instead of craft foam because I feel like it would be more durable that way. Yeah, I'm gonna get started on this now. I got the like top leg piece done and the kneecap template done. For the kneecap, I decided to add some dimension, and I just cut the same shape and I'm gonna layer it on top just to add a little spice. With the kneecap, I'll definitely be able to mold it to like the correct shape once I start using something other than vanilla folders. But next, I get to work on the foot. This is definitely going to be the hardest part because it's definitely the most complicated, and I want it to be functioning, you know? So I'm pretty much just going to wrap folders around my foot, and I'm going to cut the shapes out according to that. And then I'm going to make it essentially the way I made my hand. I'm going to use Warbla and like mold it to my foot, which is always fun to do. As I do the foot, I kind of want to explain my thought process behind how I'm gonna do it. As you can see, I kind of have outlined the different sections. So I got the toes, the main piece, I got this little connector, and then the heel. So really just 4 pieces all together. I write notes all over so I can remember my thoughts as I do this, because this is definitely gonna be the hardest part, and I'm kind of nervous about it. But I'm gonna start with what looks like the easiest part, and I'm just gonna do the heel real quick, and I'm just gonna make sure I make space or this little round piece that's kind of going down into his foot. I'm also going to be making this kind of like a foot glove is the best way I can describe it. That's gonna be the only way I think I can even get this thing on my foot. As you can see while I'm making this, I am constantly putting it on my foot and measuring what fits right and what doesn't. You can see I had to recut that piece like 3 times to get it to fit right. So that's just a very important part, I think, is constantly measuring it up against your actual body. You don't want to accidentally make something that doesn't even fit your foot right. For the little toe pieces, I'm actually referencing my pieces I used for my fingers. It just made it a little easier. And the piece you can see I'm working on right now is just kind of a layer that's gonna go over the top, and I drew like these little holes to signify where my toes are gonna kind of go. I ended up using craft foam on that part actually because craft foam is thicker and I feel like I was able to see that detail better than if I were to have used the Worbla. So again, I'm just trying it on with my other piece and making sure that I'm not running into it and that it fits nicely and that I'm able to maneuver around in this. Alright, so I pretty much have the leg template done. It didn't take too long actually, which is awesome. And I'm just going to show you guys progress, how it looks, and yeah. So, as you can see, my pieces. I even made I made a makeshift shoe out of vanilla folders. It's so weird. I might make the knee cap a little smaller, but pretty much everything else is looking pretty okay. I can't move around in it a lot right now because I don't want it to snap because it's all held together by tape right now, really. But yeah, that is the first step we have done. And now we get to do the fun stuff, the spray painting and the craft foam and the water blood. So now that we have the template done, all I'm going to do is trace those pieces onto craft foam and cut them out. So here are all of the pieces. There's actually not too many. I did take a picture of this, so if anyone wants to reference it, you can. But I'm going to be craft foaming pretty much all of this except the foot. I think the foot I'm definitely going to be doing Worbla because it's going to go through some shit and I want it to be able to hold up. So let me show you how I do that with the craft foam over there. So pretty much all I'm doing is I take like a white chalk marker so I can actually see. I just trace the outline onto the craft foam. And then I cut it out. And then you just do that with all the pieces you want, and it's super easy. One extra detail I want to add is that for that middle piece right there with all the lines in the middle, I used this little rolly tool thing. I don't know what it's called, but it really helps. Now that I have all my craft foam pieces cut out, it is time to do all the assembly, which is hard. But it should be easier this time around. I had a really hard time with my arm because like I couldn't really like look and I couldn't really tell where I was putting the pieces. Luckily my mom helped me. My mom was my Winry and she really helped me with my Automail. This time around I think I'm gonna be able to do it on my own. So we're gonna assemble it first before we do all the spray painting. Made that mistake last time. Assemble it first and then do the painting. Tools for assembly: Warbler, a hot glue gun, a hairdryer, and googly eyes, and also elastic and Velcro. I'll take a picture of all that too. So you guys will just kind of see how I'm gonna use all these pieces and I'll just explain it a little more. But yeah, let's get to assembling. When it comes to assembling, what I'm doing here is I'm referencing my template to make sure that I am putting the pieces in the correct position. So yeah, just make sure you're referencing your template while you're doing this. But pretty much I'm just hot gluing it all together and also using the Velcro in the spots where I want to be able to open it up and also close it up. Now I'm doing the accessorizing, which is pretty fun, and just using those googly eyes. They're gonna look like little bolts when they're done. Constantly looking at my reference photo as I'm doing this. Okay, so now that I have all of these three pieces, they're all prepped, they're all ready, they're all accessorized. These googly eyes, I know they look weird, but once I spray paint them, they'll just look like bolts, and they work awesome for that. The foot is going to be mostly Warbler, so that'll be a completely different way of doing it that I'll have to try and explain. But now we get to paint it. So for painting, all you're gonna need is I would lay down some cardboard, do it outside. First we're gonna layer it with Plasti Dip, which is like a rubberized coating. It will just prevent the actual spray paint from eating away at the craft foam. I'm gonna do 2 layers of this because my arm has been deteriorating, so I don't think I did enough last time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said previously, I would recommend doing 2 coats of the Plasti Dip. Make sure you dry it between the coatings. Do not skip this part because it is what is going to protect your Automail from getting eaten up and deteriorating from all that spray paint. Also, maybe wear a mask when you're spray painting because I should have done that. Okay, while my Automail dries, I'm going to just start working on my foot. I'm gonna let that Automail dry for at least like an hour because last time I really tried to rush it and I ended up having to repaint it. So you have to be patient. We have to be patient. It's annoying, but it's worth it. So the foot is gonna be interesting because I'm gonna make it out of Warbler. Pretty much how Warbler works is like it's like a thermal plastic. You heat it up and then it molds into a shape that you would like. A lot of people will say that you need a heat gun to do this. You really don't. All you need is a hairdryer. It works fine. All you do is you just heat it up with the hairdryer. You'll see it kind of start to melt and then you can form it and then it'll dry however you decide to form it. This is definitely going to be the most challenging part, so wish me luck! So what I'm doing is essentially the same thing I did with the craft foam. I'm just tracing all the pieces onto the Worbla and then cutting them out. And then you can see I'm starting to heat it up and mold it to my foot. And I know there's a lot going on right here, but I'm just pretty much attaching all the pieces together with hot glue and elastic. As you can see, for that top piece, I used craft foam instead, just because it's going to give it a little more dimension, and I just think it looks better this way anyway. And now I'm just melting those little toe pieces and wrapping them around my actual toes and letting them dry, and that's how I made those. The toes are interesting because all I do is take a fairly big piece of Worbla and I melt it onto the top of my toe, and then I cut it to make sure that it fits right. The bigger piece of Worbla you use, the smoother of a texture you're going to be able to get. So kind of be generous with your Worbla when you are doing this part. Also, one thing I'd like to mention is you can see that my thigh high is kind of a bit of a toe sock. So I should have just bought a toe sock, but I was impatient and I decided to sew my thigh-high socks into little toe socks, and it took forever, but that's how you're going to be able to move your toes around and actually get these little pieces on, is you're going to need a toe sock. Also, make sure you are wearing a toe sock when you're doing this, because that Worbla gets hot and you don't want to burn your little toes. You also want it to fit right. Now I'm just starting to accessorize, again referencing that photo. I used my hand actually as a reference just to kind of get an idea of how I wanted it to look. And then I'm trying it on and making sure it all fits. Also, while I was doing this, I grabbed my Automail arm and I just did a little bit of maintenance on it because it has gone through quite a bit. So you'll see me working on that too. And then I'm just doing the same thing I did with the other pieces, you know, plastied it first and then spray paint, let it dry for a good amount of time before you start working with it again. Because you don't want to mess it up and then have to repaint it like I did. Don't be stupid like me. And then I just grabbed some darker silver paint and I just started adding a little bit of details just to add some depth and dimension to my Automail to make it look a little more realistic. Assembling the toes right here was honestly the most time-consuming part, but all I'm doing here is I'm measuring it up against my foot and I'm attaching it with hot glue and elastic. And I pretty much have it done right now. You know, I'm putting it on, I'm making sure it all looks nice and good. I can move my toes around. And yeah, would you look at that? Beautiful. And there's all the finished pieces. Okay, so now that all the Automail is done, I just want to talk a little bit more about a couple details. The foot was definitely not the hardest part, but definitely like took the longest. I mean, you guys can kind of see what I did in the time lapse, but I started off with the base. Base is Worbla. Put some craft foam underneath, or layered it on so it would be kind of comfy, and I wouldn't, yeah, that's why, comfort. I started assembling it by attaching 2 pieces of elastic to the base first to hold that together, and then I attached elastic to this piece and the heel piece, just like, there's like 9 pieces all together all around it. And then I added the little details, and then I spray painted it. The toes are literally just connected with elastic. I just measured them up against my feet, and I just glued them onto the actual base. And then it slips on like a glove. I can pull this back because I attached elastic here too. So I'm able to actually maneuver my foot in this. It's not super tight, it's actually fairly comfortable, and I can move my toes around. I'm super proud of this. This was like, I feel like a genius for putting this. I made a shoe. out of craft foam and Warbler. Who does that, cosplayers? The base piece is honestly the hardest piece to work with, which surprised me. I just feel like I couldn't quite get it like tight enough on my leg, no matter how many different ways I pulled it, but got it. It assembles like this. That's how you put it on. That was definitely one of the easier parts. All I did for the back of it was I bought some 1-inch elastic because I couldn't find any thicker ones, and I just sewed 3 pieces together. And then I attached Velcro to the back of each thing, and it kind of like works like a knee pad. And then I used some Warbler right here to like heat it up so I can mold it down just a little bit. It'll take shape the more I put it on my knee. It'll just start to naturally like take that shape. So that one was fairly easy. And definitely the easiest part was that little thigh piece, because the photo I referenced didn't really have anything going on, and I kind of like that. I like how nice and smooth and shiny it is. All I did was cut the piece out and Velcro it. Yeah. So thanks for joining me on my journey making an Automail leg. It was very tiring, and it didn't take as long as the arm, which was nice. It was actually a little easier because the arm I needed actual help because I couldn't see exactly what I was doing. But this was good and this was fun, and I'm so excited to put it on with my cosplay. I'm so excited. I'll have to include photos of that. And yeah, this is my very first YouTube video. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing filming wise, so I'm sorry if it's sloppy, but I wanted to show you guys how I did it because I got a lot of questions about how I did my arm. And it's really not that hard. It just takes time and patience and dedication, and you can do it. It's not that hard, and it's not too expensive either. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a little video I took of my leg once I had it done. You can see how cool it looks, okay? And like I can move my little toes around. I just love that little detail so much. There's me looking really tired after that. And here's me in my cosplay. I do a gender bent Ed as well, and I just love that the leg just pops out and you can just see it, and it's I love it so much.